If you ever take a quiet moment to look back on your life, you'll realize that growing up is never a straight, rose-lined road. Every turn, every choice, every failure or invisible pain has probably made you wonder, if only I hadn't taken that path, would things be different? But what most people don't realize is that those very experiences, especially the ones that seem useless or even regrettable, lay the foundation for us to stand tall in face of new challenges and future accomplishments. Among countless philosophies about living and growing, there's one particularly insightful and vivid perspective: the Brick Kiln Theory. The name might sound simple, but the more you think about it, the more it hits home, because life, all too often, feels like an endless series of trials by fire. This theory likens each of us to a raw clay brick. To become strong and valuable, one must go through a kiln, meaning that we have to face tests, make mistakes, struggle, and endure hardships and pain. And one fine day, these bricks, meaning you, will become part of a sturdy structure, your career, your dreams, or your unshakable faith in yourself. Every experience adds up, just like connecting the dots in your life story. Think back to all the things you learned as a kid which seemed pointless at the time, only for them to somehow come into play at the most crucial moments later in life. Connecting the dots, a phrase Steve Jobs popularized, turns out to be the thread running through the stories of those we deem successful. To prove this, let's take a seat, sip some tea, and relax as we share the stories of people the world admires, people we think of as lucky or gifted. Steve Jobs, Leonardo da Vinci, Michael Faraday, Walt Disney, Vinci, Thomas Edison, and more. Behind each of their spotlights is a rough-hewn brick, fired and toughened with sweat, failure, and relentless perseverance. So, what exactly is the Brick Kiln Theory? It's not simply a principle that insists on hard work and persistence. Rather, it's a gentle reminder for every generation. No experience is meaningless. Every failure holds a lesson, and every pain helps you leap forward. The crucial thing is whether you have the patience to keep baking your bricks through each trial, the humility to keep learning even if progress is slow, and the courage to stand back up when you feel you've lost everything. If you feel like your life is looping through detours or filled with aimless stories, let me tell you how these simple fired bricks can link up, forming a sturdy foundation for a life that eventually will shine in its own way. Every experience is a hidden resource. Let's look a little deeper at the heart of the Brick Kiln Theory, the belief that every experience, no matter how small or seemingly unrelated, carries hidden value. Think about the phrase "connecting the dots" that Steve Jobs became famous for. In his legendary Stanford commencement speech, Jobs talked about how dropping out of college seemed like a mistake, yet it allowed him to stumble into a calligraphy class. At the time, that class appeared to have no practical use at all. But years later, it was that very knowledge of beautiful lettering that shaped the Macintosh's revolutionary typefaces, giving Apple its competitive edge. In this way, the theory invites us to cherish even the parts of our journey that don't make sense at first glance. You may think a job you hated, a hobby you only half finished, or a difficult class you struggled through were wastes of time. Yet, as the years pass, you might find yourself reaching for that long-forgotten skill or memory at a surprisingly pivotal moment. Life rarely offers you an immediate answer to why you're learning what you're learning. But trust the process. Each tidbit of knowledge, every hard-earned lesson, every awkward encounter, it's all going into your storehouse of bricks. There's a quiet comfort in knowing that nothing is wasted. That's what gives the Brick Kiln Theory its gentle wisdom. It tells you, be patient. Let every bit of experience sink in. Even pain, once processed and understood, becomes part of your unique strength. Perhaps in your toughest days, It's enough just to keep moving forward, because every struggle is quietly preparing you for a part in life's larger structure. Patience, endurance, and the fire of growth. Imagine a clay brick in an open field. It's soft, fragile, and easily broken. Only after facing the intense heat of the kiln does it become firm and able to bear weight. Our lives are no different. Many expect success to come swiftly, thinking talent or luck is all that counts. But every legendary life, when peeled back, reveals long years of diligent practice, mistakes, and relentless self-improvement. Take Leonardo da Vinci, for instance. He spent countless hours studying anatomy, dissecting bodies, sketching muscle and bone. Most of the world remembers his masterpieces, but few think about the endless days he spent learning about the world, not for instant recognition, but for the sheer love of understanding. Likewise, Michael Faraday, the great scientist, was almost entirely self-taught. He devoured books one after another, working menial jobs in his youth, unnoticed by the scholars of his time. And Thomas Edison? He famously tried and failed over 1,000 times to invent a working light bulb, each failed experiment building his patience and refining his vision. Their stories whisper a truth we often forget. Your future is built not on your easiest days, but on your ability to endure and learn from the hardest. The kiln is never comfortable, and growth rarely feels glamorous while it's happening. But that's exactly when your character, wisdom, and courage are forged. Turning hardship into stepping stones. Let's dig a little deeper. So far, you can see how each stumble, each detour is quietly molding you. But why is it so hard to trust in that process when we're actually living through it? The truth is, pain and disappointment often feel pointless while we're in the thick of them. No one enjoys being baked in the kiln. The loss of a job, the failure of a dream project, or the frustration of endless setbacks can make the heart grow heavy. Yet, as time goes on, countless people have looked back to realize that the lowest valleys in their lives became the places they grew the most. Consider Walt Disney. Today, his name sparkles on movie screens and theme parks around the globe. But there was a time when he was told he lacked imagination and had his early businesses shut down in bankruptcy. Many would have quit, believing the world's verdict. But Disney's bricks weren't ready yet. Each disappointment taught him new lessons about storytelling, resilience, creative risk, and business. The very wounds he suffered guided his hands as he built his animation empire from the ground up. Eventually, the harsh fire of his setbacks made his vision not weaker, but far stronger and more enchanting than ever. We often hear stories about overnight successes, but if you look closely, you'll always find years, sometimes decades, of quiet struggle behind the scenes. The Brick Kiln Theory doesn't romanticize suffering, nor does it wish difficulty on anyone. What it offers instead is perspective. Recognize when you're going through the fire. You don't have to like it, but you can take comfort that you're not alone. And if you let yourself, you'll come through tougher, more authentic, and ready to build something lasting. Accumulating knowledge, a lifetime of reading and learning. Another dimension of the Brick Kiln Theory is the slow, steady accumulation of knowledge. Think of every book you read, every conversation you have, every skill you practice as another brick in your growing pile. Some bricks are showy, immediately useful or impressive to others, but the majority are like support beams, hidden in the foundation, their importance invisible until they're suddenly needed. Take Michael Faraday again. As a boy, he worked as a bookbinder's apprentice, hardly the glamorous beginning for a future scientific genius. Yet, surrounded by books, he read everything he could get his hands on. Most of those lessons seemed useless or only half understood, but they sparked questions. And those questions led to experiments that would one day revolutionize the world of electricity. It's easy, especially in the age of instant answers, to get frustrated by slow growth. We want quick results. One book, one class, one semester to expertise. But true learning, the kind that changes who you are, is all about quiet, patient accumulation. The best bricks are slowly cured, layered with care and humility. Only years down the line do you realize how much you've gained and how well prepared you are for the challenges ahead. The power of opportunity and readiness. Now, let's talk about a subtle but crucial aspect of success, the moment when opportunity knocks. You'll often hear, luck favors the prepared, but the Brick Kiln Theory gives this saying new depth. Preparing yourself, gathering those bricks, isn't about being ready for a single perfect moment. It's about building a foundation so that whenever a door opens, you can stride through with confidence. For example, think of an aspiring writer who for years jots down notes, sketches stories, and drafts chapters that never get published. To their friends or family, it might seem like wasted effort. But one day, an old teacher remembers their passion, and a random invitation to submit a story arrives. If they had stopped writing, the opportunity would slip by. But all those unseen bricks laid over the years suddenly form the strong wall behind a breakout moment. This is true in every field. The boring jobs, the skills learned on a whim, the mistakes that force you to try again. Each adds another layer to your resilience. By the time your big moment arrives, you're not the same raw beginner you once were. Your foundation, reliable, diverse, and surprisingly strong, lets you withstand the pressure and seize the day. Defining the brick kiln mindset. Living with the brick kiln mindset isn't as easy as it sounds. It's natural to get discouraged, especially when you can't see any progress or when peers seem to be moving faster. But this mindset is an invitation to take the long view. Every challenge is material. Every failure is a future asset, provided you claim the lesson and refuse to abandon the work. In practice, the brick kiln mindset is about humility and perseverance. You learn to say, I may not succeed yet, but this effort still counts. Whether you're pulling books off the shelf, struggling through a project, or picking yourself up after a loss, you know that brick by brick, you're building something. Even if no one notices, and even if you're not sure what it will all add up to, that's okay. Over time, you'll realize something subtle but powerful. Life isn't about avoiding the fire, but learning how to endure it, trusting that you'll emerge transformed. Those who keep going, reading one more page, practicing one more hour, taking one more risk, end up with a mosaic of experience that sets them apart. As you keep going, the world begins to open up. The doors may not appear when you expect them. Sometimes they won't look like doors at all. That's why patience is so essential. Trust that your effort will matter. Every moment in the kiln is making you more capable, more interesting, more ready for the call when it comes. Looking back, the surprise of connecting dots. As time passes, a beautiful thing happens. The dots of your life, scattered and disconnected for so long, suddenly begin to form a story. What once seemed random or pointless starts making sense. Looking back, you might smile at the memory of a miserable first job, a failed project, or that course you almost slept through, because now you see exactly how it contributed to who you are today. Vinci, for example, struggled through years of hardship, with many of his efforts going completely unnoticed by the world. He could have given up at any crossroad, blaming bad luck or his own past decisions. Instead, he kept learning, kept failing and starting over, kept adding brick after brick to the foundation of his journey. Decades later, not only did his persistence pay off with recognition and influence, but he also discovered a resilience and depth he never could have planned. This sense of coherence, the feeling that nothing was wasted, that every struggle was for something, can only be seen in hindsight. That's why it's so important to keep going even when today's effort feels pointless. The story only reveals itself when enough bricks have been laid, when enough dots have been connected. You are the mason of your own life. It can be comforting to know that your journey is entirely your own. No one else knows which experiences will turn out to be vital bricks. No one else can build your unique kiln. This isn't a competition to see who finishes first, or even who looks most impressive along the way. It's a lifelong practice, collecting, enduring, learning, and ultimately creating a life that is authentic and sturdy, held together by the fire you survived. Perhaps there are days where you feel lost or behind. The Brick Kiln Theory encourages you not to rush, not to envy others' apparent clarity. Their construction site is different from yours. Their bricks have a different story to tell. What matters is that you keep building, one small step at a time, even if no one is watching or applauding. One day, you'll look up and realize you've created something solid, a foundation for meaningful work, deep relationships, a quiet confidence that cannot be faked. That's the true reward, not the applause, not the accolades, but the inner peace of knowing you earned every piece of your story. Embracing the journey and its lessons. So, where does this leave us? The Brick Kiln Theory is less about a single breakthrough and more about a lifetime of shaping, learning, and slow, persistent progress. If you see each day's challenge as a necessary part of your baking, you'll likely treat yourself more gently and be more patient with the process. It's easy to look at others' dazzling achievements and feel like you're stuck in place. But what we rarely see are the years they spent in obscurity, reading late at night, wrestling with uncertainty, enduring criticism, or just waiting for their moment, preparing brick by brick. The reward is not in skipping the hard work, but in knowing that the work mattered. Whenever you're frustrated with slow progress, remember you're not alone. Everyone who's ever built something meaningful, whether it's an invention, a piece of art, a business, or even just a sense of self-worth, has gone through their own version of the kiln. Growth is often invisible until one day it's the strongest part of you. Practical wisdom for everyday life. How can you put the Brick Kiln Theory into practice? Start by honoring your current struggles, not just your victories. Recognize that every awkward conversation, every mistake, every long night spent learning or working, all of it is raw material. When you're tempted to quit, tell yourself that every little bit will eventually find its place in your construction. If you're starting something new and feeling lost, that's a sign you're gathering crucial new bricks. If you've been working at something for years with no big results, know that the foundation is often the slowest and most important part to lay. Most of all, keep your faith that experiences are never wasted. Even pain has a strange way of weaving itself into your strength. One day, you'll find yourself helping someone else through a hard time, all because you collected the wisdom from your own. The ongoing process. Life as a brick kiln isn't a journey with a finish line. It's a rhythm. Effort, struggle, rest, and then new effort. There will be days when you wonder if it's worth it, but in those very days, another layer is being baked into your foundation. When you finally step back and look at what you've built, it won't be perfect, but it will be yours. A resilient story of growth, persistence, and quiet power. If you ever doubt your path, just remember the world is built by those who are willing to stay in the kiln, who trust in the slow magic of turning clay into stone, mistake into mastery, and opportunity into lasting change. As we wrap up today's podcast, I want to thank you for spending time reflecting with me on the Brick Kiln Theory, a simple but powerful way to see your everyday efforts in a new light. Remember, wherever you are in your journey, every moment you endure and every lesson you collect is shaping something valuable within you. I wish you peace and strength as you continue building your own story, brick by brick. If you found this episode meaningful, don't forget to hit the follow button so you won't miss new content. And I'd love to hear your thoughts or your own brick kiln stories. Leave a comment below and join the conversation. Take care, stay patient with yourself, and see you in the next podcast.